folks. It's Thursday, the 6th of February. Middle of a ghost town here. 1.3 million people all hiding. It's dire here. It's very dire. There's people dropping on the footpath, literally. I can't wait to get out of here. It's terrible.
A city of 11 million people in lockdown.
So here I am sitting at home because after returning from Hubei province at the heart of the coronavirus outbreak, everybody's told you need to go into quarantine. You can't be exposed to others for several weeks.
More than 2,000 dead, tens of thousands infected. Rising anger over how the crisis is being handled.
Local officials in Wuhan did withhold information. The doctors in Wuhan who were talking about it were explicitly told to shut up.
And scientists racing to find a vaccine.
We just don't know how this outbreak is going to develop or how many people are ultimately going to be infected or ultimately going to die from this disease.
Tonight on Four Corners, how the coronavirus outbreak sparked a global emergency.
I'm absolutely fucking petrified. The police are actually knocking on doors and taking temperatures, and if people have got a temperature, they're dragging them out. You don't get a fucking say in it. You don't get an option.
Wuhan is a very, very beautiful, charming and bustling city in central China. It sits on the banks of Yangtze River. It's a mega city. Wuhan is also home to the second most number of universities in China. People around the world come to Wuhan to study.
It's right in the heart of the country, geographically as well as economically. All these trains and planes are coming through there, and to have the virus outbreak start there, it's almost like if you wanted to pick the worst place for it to break out in, that would be the place you'd release it.
In early December, people in Wuhan begin falling ill with a mystery virus.
First infections in Wuhan started in early December, and I believe the first case in December the 1st. When a new infectious disease appears, it does take a little time to register and become aware that it's new. So there were people presenting with a form of pneumonia.
Local doctors suspect the virus originated in the city's seafood and wildlife market.
So we think the virus probably originated from bats because that's what the genetic data tell us, but often there's an intermediary animal host. In this case, they think pangolins might be implicated, which are a mammal, and that intermediary animal host might have been at the markets. We don't think that it's from eating those things specifically, like through the gastrointestinal tract, but more from handling them, from touching the contaminated meat. So somewhere in that market, we believe there must have been a contaminated animal source that infected the first cluster of humans.
In late December, as the number of cases increases, doctors in Wuhan begin sharing information in a private chat group.
Well before any of us knew about the coronavirus, there were people who tried to sound the alarm. So there were a group of whistleblowers who'd heard that there was this virus cluster, and they started speaking about it. Now, in particular, there was one doctor, Li Wenliang. He posted on a chat group with his former university classmates that people had been coming in with what he thought was the SARS virus. 7 SARS cases were confirmed in the Huanan seafood market. The main mode of transmission of the virus is droplet transmission at close range or contact with respiratory secretions of patients. This can cause a special pneumonia that is evidently contagious and capable of affecting multiple organ systems. It is also called SARS. The patients were isolated in the emergency department of a hospital. Everyone, please be careful. That's scary. SARS is back.
The outbreak revived the spectre of SARS, another type.
Reducing deaths, protecting health workers and developing a vaccine. Those are the priorities of the World Health Organization set out as we go on air after a 2-day meeting of health experts in Geneva. They put together a global call to action to tackle coronavirus, which they've now renamed COVID-19. Our health correspondent, Victoria MacDonald, is in Geneva. And Victoria, we'll come back to that meeting in a minute. But first, if you could just bring us up to date on this breaking news about the first case in London, please.
Yes, we understand that it was a woman from mainland China who flew into Britain and who is currently on her way to St Thomas's Hospital in South London, where they have a specialist centre. That is as much as we know at the moment. It was always expected that we would get cases here, and the public health system is set up very well, so we're told, to be able to deal with this.
And now what about the WHO meeting that you've been listening into?
Yes, they've spent two days with more than 400 experts putting together a blueprint, a roadmap, so that they don't have any gaps. They want to know where the research should be. They want to know how they can prevent deaths, what sort of vaccines need to be developed. They say that they've got 4 vaccines that are potential, and maybe 2 of those might be in human trials within a few months, though not anything ready for maybe 18 months. What is critical is that they have put together this plan, because in the past there have been gaps. This is what the Director General had to say just now.
As we speak, research groups are meeting with the leading research funders to start work immediately on the most pressing questions. Some of these issues include easy-to-apply diagnostics, the best approach for infection prevention, potential therapies that could be used to treat patients, existing vaccine candidates and how to accelerate them, and how to address the infodemic.
You can see there are a number of questions that they have to answer, and there are numerous questions that are not answered. Not least, why have there been no cases reported in India, Indonesia and Africa, all places where there is a lot of movement between China? So there are questions, queries, worries actually that there haven't been any reports. But this is how the day and the last 2 days have unfolded.
When they went into hospital, they were diagnosed with novel coronavirus pneumonia. Discharged yesterday, they are cured, and the disease is now called COVID-19. Not much else has changed, though. Experts still don't have the answers to some critical questions. How contagious the virus is? Can it spread without people showing symptoms? They're even unclear on the death rate. So scientists meeting at the World Health Organization in Geneva have developed a blueprint to help speed up the information they need and to develop medicines to vaccinate, treat and cure.
This meeting is a direct result of lessons learned during the West Africa Ebola outbreak, because while they were eventually able to develop a vaccine, they also found that they had huge gaps, particularly in research and development, and they don't want that to happen this time.
The blueprint outlines how to mobilize international action, produce a global research agenda, accelerate the development of medical products to control the outbreak, and increase the understanding of the disease.
I'm sure that everyone feels terrible that so many lives had to be lost in the West Africa Ebola outbreak before we could get our act together. We don't want to see that, and in fact even the deaths that are happening on a daily basis in China, you can see that everyone feels bad about that and wants to do something to stop it. So it doesn't matter which country is affected. Somehow there seems to be now, at least in the scientific community, a desire that a global public good is something that's driving people.
Information from previous coronavirus outbreaks like SARS in the early 2000s means vaccine developers are not starting entirely from scratch.
People are dying as we speak or have already died, so it's never timely enough in an outbreak session. What I see, what I hear, what I feel, what I also feel myself, is that people are doing really the very best and beyond to be as quick as possible with the learnings from other outbreak situations in the past, like H1N1 or Ebola. This is being integrated so that things can go much quicker now.
Room service with a difference, protection suits, delivering food and temperature checks. This is a hotel in Hubei province currently in quarantine. The Chinese authorities are claiming that overall numbers of new cases of COVID-19 are falling.
The daily number of new confirmed cases dropped to 2,015 on Tuesday, from the peak of 3,887 recorded on February the 4th. The daily number of new suspected cases has also lowered.
But medical experts are cautious, saying there are too many gaps in the data to know how meaningful this is. And in Wuhan, the numbers remain overwhelming, with reports of the authorities requisitioning private hospitals, hotels, apartments, cars, and even face masks. So far, more than 45,000 people have been diagnosed with COVID-19, and there have been 1,117 deaths. The numbers outside China remain tiny, but containment is everything, stopping its spread while scientists seek the prevention and the cure.
Victoria MacDonald reporting from Geneva there. So, as we've heard, it's been revealed in the last hour that a woman who flew into London from China a few days ago is being treated for coronavirus, bringing the total number of UK cases to 9. She reportedly developed symptoms after landing at Heathrow and is now in a central London hospital. Meanwhile, health officials in Sussex say that they've traced all close contacts of 2 GPs who've been diagnosed with the illness. Several schools in the Brighton area have said that parents can choose to keep their children at home. Aisha Tal reports.
A community watching closely but calmly. In Worthing, in Brighton and Hove, people are taking precautions and asking for more information on COVID-19, known as the coronavirus. And here in Worthing, one of the 8 confirmed UK cases works in the A&E department of this hospital. And just outside, people are more aware of the virus than even yesterday. Are you worried about it? Do you get a sense that people are getting a bit more worried and a bit more panicked?
Getting a bit more worried, a bit more panicking, because every time anybody sneezes or coughs or anything else, they get a bit putting their hands up, putting their coats up over their mouths and everything else. But a lot of people have just got common colds.
But if we panicked every time they said there was an illness out there to be cautious of, I mean, is it really worth it?
More schools are taking action. Parents have been told they can keep their children home. At this school, kids say their classrooms are nearly half empty.
Everybody turned up at your class?
Yeah, 18.
18, how many usually?
32.
32, so a lot of... It's half term at the end of the week, isn't it? So I suppose just be careful, perhaps.
I called the school and hopefully they said, nothing.
But can I miss?
You can miss, but if it's here, it's everywhere, so I wanted to miss because I want to stay home.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at all the places that have been taking precautions. More than 10 schools across the region have given pupils the option of staying home. 5 GP surgeries closed briefly, most have reopened. A community centre and a pub have also been affected. But a lot of this is precautionary and is related to the suspected but not confirmed contact with the virus. The man at the centre of the virus outbreak, Steve Walsh, has been released from hospital. In a statement he said,
"I'm happy to be home and feeling well. I want to give a big thank you to the NHS who have been great throughout, and my thoughts are with everyone around the world who continues to be affected by the virus. It's good to be back home with my family."
Public Health England say they've now traced and given advice to the patients of the 2 GPs who had caught the virus from Mr. Walsh. Today in the area, there's been lots more awareness, and with that, a demand